Do you endorse Giovanni going to Washington?
We have extensive contacts with the U.S. administration, constant contacts with the U.S. administration. Minister LeBlanc gave a briefing to Mr. Giovanni, who I don't believe is the trade critic for the opposition, certainly not the Minister of International Trade, nor the Prime Minister.
So what do you think he's going to do?
I think it might have something to do with all of you.
Monsieur Carney, pourquoi est-ce que vous ne signez pas l'entente commerciale avec Taïwan? Est-ce que vous avez peur de la réaction de la Chine?
Je ne suis jamais peur. Non, on a des relations commerciales avec Taïwan, mais on met l'accent afin de renforcer nos relations commerciales avec la Chine. On fait de progrès, beaucoup de progrès pour des fermiers, dans le secteur automobile, dans le secteur d'énergie propre. Et c'était un grand succès.
Donc, vous préférez faire un stoppage?
Je préfère le plus grand de l'économie du monde.
Champagne, can I ask you quickly about General Giovanni going to Washington, D.C., whether or not you think that would be helpful?
You should ask my colleagues about that. I mean, I've yet to see the Conservative being very constructive, despite what they say publicly. You should see at the committee yesterday. They say on one end they'll support legislation and support Canadians, but the proof is in the pudding. I'm looking forward to see whether in fact...
Mais auriez-vous besoin d'aide avec les relations américaines? C'est pas bienvenu?
Écoutez, on est toujours prêt à discuter avec ça. On a une bonne relation avec les premiers ministres des provinces, ont fait, les gens d'affaires. But, you know, with respect to him, je vais laisser mes collègues commenter là-dessus, but je pense qu'on a développé une façon de travailler avec nos partenaires américains. Moi, je vois le secrétaire du Trésor, on est en communication régulière. Et puis, moi, je dis toujours, la meilleure chose qu'on peut faire, c'est de garder ces communications-là. Mais en même temps, on a besoin de diversifier nos relations stratégiques, puis c'est ce qu'on fait.
Mais vu son lien maintenant...
She's talked about the idea that there needs to be more provincial involvement in judge picking. What do you think?
Just speaking as a lawyer, the independence of the judiciary is a fundamentally important aspect of Canadian democracy, so we'll start with that. And I know that Justice Minister Fraser has been in contact with Alberta, and I think he'll have more to tell you about that.
But you're not a lawyer.
As a lawyer, I mean what I said. Judicial independence is...
So you think she's trying to interfere with that by this proposal?
Thank you.
Do you have any concerns about Jamil Giovanni going down to D.C. and talking with the American administration?
So I know he's been in contact with my colleagues, so that's also good news. But my question to Mr. Giovanni is, I really hope that he spoke about the closure of GM in his writing, because Ingersoll has been closed for now 4 months, and I haven't heard him once saying that he was deploring what was going on, and basically GM closing Ingersoll and hundreds of people losing their jobs.
Est-ce qu'il peut faire quelque chose, vous pensez, un représentant conservateur qui va parler à son ami J.D. Vance, par exemple?
Ben moi, j'espère qu'il va parler aussi à GM. J'espère qu'il va défendre le sort des travailleurs, parce que clairement, il ne le fait pas. Et c'est un problème. Et on sait que GM, présentement, ont fermé un troisième quart de travail, c'est un troisième quart de travail à Oshawa, et ont fermé également à Ingersoll, qui est en soi un problème, dû aux tarifs américains.
Avez-vous besoin d'un peu d'aide avec les tarifs présentement, un peu d'aide avec les relations avec les Américains? Est-ce que c'est bienvenu, cette initiative-là?
Moi, je pense que c'est très, très important qu'on puisse travailler comme une équipe Canada, et particulièrement lorsque vient la question des pertes d'emplois dans le secteur automobile. Surtout pour un député qui représente des citoyens qui travaillent à la GM.
Madame Johnny, pourquoi est-ce que votre gouvernement ne signe pas l'entente qui a été conclue avec Taïwan, l'entente commerciale?
Ah, mais ça, c'est une question pour la ministre des Affaires étrangères que je ne suis plus.
Mais vous parlez de diversifier les partenaires commerciaux. Là, vous avez un partenaire qui veut diversifier et qui s'inquiète que c'est à cause de la Chine qu'on ne signe pas.
Mais je pense que votre question est très pertinente et ma collègue pourrait répondre.
Do you think Mr. Giovanni can actually accomplish things for Canada while he's there? He's, famously friends with Vice President Vance.
So that's what I've just answered that question, which is basically he represents people working at GM in his writing. I haven't heard once not only denouncing what GM was doing, but also promoting the interests of the workers at GM that are facing unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs by the American administration, and he should be talking much more about it. It's a problem.
Do you trust tariffs?
Thank you. Got a quick second to talk about the leadership? Just
sure.
The decision that you're making to go for leadership but at the same time holding on to this job as MP. Why are you doing that?
Well, I'm going to. I think I was clear in the statement, but if not, I can be clearer.
Sure.
So I'm committed to serving my federal caucus and serving my colleagues and serving the country as long as I've got a seat here. And as soon as there's a by-election, though, I am all in, and I'll be resigning this seat, and I'll be focused on provincial politics. It's up to Doug, obviously, to call that by-election. But when Ford calls that by-election, I'm not doing both jobs.
You'll resign as soon as the by-election is called, regardless of whether I win the by-election.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Was I not clear enough? I am all in.
There have been some questions. That's why we're asking.
Well, I think there's like bad faith sort of conservative talk online, but I hope I was clear. I mean, as soon as Doug Ford calls the by-election, I am all in. I'll be resigning a seat here. In the meantime, look, what's at stake here in Ottawa, every vote counts. Is why we're going to have quick by-elections with the resignation of Blair and Chrystia. So, I don't want to leave my federal colleagues in the lurch. So I'm not gonna jump today. But if Doug calls it tomorrow, yeah, I'll be resigning tomorrow.
What do you make of the Prime Minister appointing candidates? Go ahead. Why do you want to run for leadership again?
So I sort of said this yesterday, and look, the leadership decision ultimately, we'll see what the rules are out. We don't have a leadership race yet, so I'm focused on the by-election, the opportunity to serve the East End community. But you look at this and you say, how can I make the biggest difference? And I'm incredibly frustrated on the things that matter in our everyday lives, whether it's cost of living, cost of housing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's world-class education that we deserve and our kids deserve. On all of the basics, the Ford government is failing. And yeah, they can, folksy charm, put on the Team Canada hat. It ultimately is not good enough. It's, I see incompetence, I see self-dealing, I see a tired government, and we deserve better. And honestly, if you think you deserve better, then you should participate and you should step up.
What do you make of the government or the Prime Minister nominating candidates appointing candidates instead of having a real nomination contest?
Look, I think I come from a perspective, I've not been shy about this, that I value competitive nominations. I have a bias because I, earned a role through a competitive 13-month nomination back in 2013. I was 29 when I first put up my hand. No one was patting me on the shoulder and saying, "You're our guy, kid." I had to fight and earn community support, so there's real value in that. In this particular moment, I think overwhelmingly the Prime Minister and the leadership's been clear. We need to make sure we've got the highest quality folks in the House right away. Nominations can be tough in that regard. To really encourage lots of good people on the ground, you need a longer timeline. We don't have that longer timeline, and we're lucky. I mean, when you look at Danielle Martin, I had her at a town hall years ago. She is wicked smart. She's find me a better expert on healthcare. You look at Dolly Begum, find me a better representative for the Bengali and East End progressive community. She's been great, so we're lucky.
She was an NDP candidate on Monday, and she said she has a lesson for the federal judge, all that.
So look, a couple points to unpack from the question that you just asked. I think more broadly first, ensuring that we have an independent judiciary is a hallmark of democracy and a key part of the rule of law. At risk of stating the obvious, it's essential that we have a judiciary who's able to make decisions without fear or favor amongst those who have the power to appoint or, in theory, remove a judge from the bench. When you start to look at how you can protect that independence, certainly ensuring that there's not political threats about the resources that are going to be made available to them to do their jobs as part of it. But another part is actually have integrity in the appointment process to begin with. With respect to the process that we've established, it's working very well. We've got independent judicial advisory committees with appointees that factor in feedback from the provinces. We've got representatives of the law societies, of the Canadian Bar Association, of the federal government, who are able to make independent recommendations. Those are fed into our process. I've actually found over the course of my time in this position, the feedback we've received from Alberta to be uniquely helpful in pointing us in the right direction to have stellar candidates appointed, including as recently as a week ago. So my sense is we have a functioning independent process. We should protect it and defend the independence of the judiciary at all costs.
What is your message to previous mayors?
Well, I think my message is not to any one premier or political actor. What we've seen over the course of the last number of months, not just in Canada, but around the world, is that people are too often taking for granted that we live in a country where the rule of law is going to be protected. We need to rigorously adhere to the boundaries of the Constitution, including the need to protect the independence of the judiciary. These are values that we have taken for granted for many years as Canadians, but as examples around the world have showcased, nowhere is safe from democratic backsliding, and if we're going to have a functioning democracy, an independent judiciary is a key part of it.
Is that a no? Jack, you're just going to say no? You're saying no?
Look, I'm planning to maintain the process that we have in place that has independence, that has rigor, that has led to stellar candidates being appointed, including as recently in Alberta. We welcomed the feedback from representatives of the Alberta government through that process, and they've participated. It's been very helpful. I hope that they continue to participate so we can continue to make stellar appointments that we have very recently.
She withholds funding. Is there anything one thing if she withholds funding as she's threatening to do in this letter? What do you think that'll do to the court?
Well, look, I think that's important to understand from the court what the impact of those decisions would be. But my sense is those who make political decisions about the appointment of judges should ensure that they have the resources to do their job, not based on political issues that may transpire on a day-to-day basis, but with certainty and with enough runway that they have the independence to operate functionally. Thank you.
But I think that cooperative federalism goes both ways. Appointing judges is a federal area of responsibility, and it should probably rest that way, but that's probably a question more for the minister.
Do you think threatening to withhold funding for provincial judges if she doesn't get her way on this? I mean, you're talking about cooperative federalism, that doesn't seem that way.
Your words, not mine. But look, I'll say this. The constitutional law is pretty clear. You don't need a lawyer to understand. We've got the doctrine of colorability, and you can't create a new power out of powers that you do have. You can't say, oh, I want to appoint federal judges, so absent that, I'm just going to withhold funding to federal judges. That's not the way the Constitution works. Well, so that doesn't happen Friday. It has to go through the PROC committee. But yes, I will be trying to encourage my colleagues, whoever's sitting on it, to take them up. And stay tuned. I think that's something that we should look at for sure.
Has that happened yet? Like, are anything going to take you up on that?
Oh, we're having conversations, but you know, like you've got to create a package. You've got to put it forward. It takes time away from PROC, and we'll see where it goes. But there's been some interest. If I could do one thing to change question period, it would be actually to go back to what it was in the 90s and to have longer responses. I think having 35-second questions and 35-second answers is of low nutritional value, and Canadians deserve to get real answers about the issues of the day. And that doesn't happen through just rapidly turning over the same 35-second question and answer time and time again.
You think you'll get real answers in question period?
Or longer answers, not written. You know, you could get richer.
Real answers.
Oh, real answers. Yes, sorry, I thought you said written answers. Yes, I think in fact we see in other jurisdictions you get much more robust answers. So, for example, in the United Kingdom, they have like a question has to be on the order paper. I'm not suggesting that. I like the spontaneity of question period, but it does mean you come having a real thoughtful, prepared answer that's going forward on the specific issue that you're being asked for. But you just can't get into the meat of it in 35 seconds. It's as simple as that.
They call it question period, not answer.
That's true, and they've done that for a long time. That's a quip from the 80s. And back then, the answers were much, much longer. If you go back and you look at Answer of the Day, it's 2-3-minute answers from ministers. So if you think that was the mentality then, transpose that onto our now 35-second answer, and we've come a long way.
Do you think it's procedural, though? Do you think it's about the time, or is it about the question period is now social media?
Look, I think we create our systems, and then our systems create us, and we've created a system that just generates sound bites, and I don't think sound bites are the point. Accountability is the point, so we should make improvements to question period to reflect that.
Do you think ministers are going to be interested in that?
Sir, I'll get back to that one. How long? The answer should be as long as it takes to answer them within reason. I think that the speaker can cut off a minister who gets over long, but some things only need 30 seconds to respond. Some things need 3 minutes to respond. It really just depends. I think anything pushing beyond that, a minister should be able to make a elevator pitch of their answer for sure. Sorry, I want to respond.
Oh, my question was just like, do you think ministers are going to be on board with this, given that they have? They can also kind of score partisan political points in 35 seconds.
Like anybody can kind of hide in the shallow end, and there's some benefit to that. But fundamentally, we're here to represent Canadians. Our job as MPs whether we're government or opposition, is to make sure there's an accountability to Parliament. That's our system of government. So, look, I think a lot of ministers would welcome the opportunity to provide more robust answers. They're not provided that right now. Some of it will come down to personal preference. Some of this will come down to habit, for sure. I'm sorry, you were asking.
I just want that kind of the opposition's question time. Like, how are you going to get them on board if ministers need a more time question?
Well, so that was originally the challenge that led to this in the 1990s. It was, now we've got 5 political parties, we've got to split it, some of the ministers are going over long. But, I would argue that the solution was worse than the problem. I mean, there are ways that you can sit and say, I want to ask a really thoughtful question. Let's use this just yesterday as an example. How many questions about affordability that are fundamentally the same do you need to make the question, accurate and forward? Now, if you could go forward and say, let's talk to the social ministers about this, let's talk to the economic ministers about this, and let's get some long answers about this, I think you would have a much, much more robust response. I think even when the Prime Minister yesterday was talking about some of the reports about what was driving affordability, and including like the ongoing trade war with the United States and the effect on our dollar, I wouldn't have minded one more minute of that. As a parliamentarian, I think Canadians deserve one more minute of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know why Washington.
To help.
Yeah, he said he's there to help, trying to help the government.
Good. If everybody wants to help, that's better. That's fine.
You don't see any issue?
I don't know what he's doing.
He's currently meeting with GM. He needs help with those cars. So nobody's trying to reach out to everybody else.
Okay. Look, this is an all hands on deck situation. I don't know what Jamil's doing. He doesn't check in with me. So.
But is there an issue with, different people from different parties representing differently Canada in the United States right now in the context?
My personal view is that I have no problem with anybody speaking to anybody as long as you're on Team Canada and we're all talking about the same thing. If you're not doing that, then I would encourage you to get on board before you do that.
Are you concerned that he may not be?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. As I said before, I don't know what he's doing down there. Jamil reached out to me last week. I got back to him twice. Said I'm happy to sit down with you. I haven't done that yet because I haven't heard back from him on that. So.
What did he reach out to you about?
Just to sit down and talk.
Jim.
So I don't know.
What do you make of the Prime Minister appointing 2 candidates in Toronto rather than running real nomination contests?
Look, first of all, I think they're both excellent candidates. I've spoken to one of them. I haven't had an opportunity to speak to the one who was appointed yesterday. But both of them are highly credentialed people who are going to make great candidates and great MPs. Look, we're in a situation where time is of the essence. So I think given the quality of the candidates, I have no problem with that.
Do you have any sense of when the by-elections are going to be called?
I don't. That's above my pay grade, but I wouldn't expect it's going to take too long.
The candidate in Scarborough, the one that was appointed yesterday, she was an NDP MP, as of 2 days ago.
Yeah.
She said many things that are critical of this party, of the Liberals. She said the federal government lacks the moral backbone when it comes to arms embargoes in Israel. Are you concerned that someone who didn't represent the values of the party a week ago is now going to be your candidate?
I'm not familiar with her past comments, so I can't really give you any feedback on that. But look, we have a big group of MPs with diverse views, and that's what makes it work so well, in my opinion. So I'm glad to have her on the team. All right, thanks, guys.
Sources say the government's considering bringing back the EV mandate, the rebates, or potentially rebates, or some sort of incentive for buying EVs. What do you think of that idea of bringing that back?
I thought it was a good idea the first time. In fact, I recommended it to the government in 2019 when I was part of an advisory committee to the federal government. We know that there's still a price difference between conventional internal combustion engine vehicles and electric vehicles, so this will help more adoption of electric vehicles.
Surtout en ce moment, on a vu qu'en 2025, à peu près la moitié du pétrole qui était transité par là allait aux États-Unis. Est-ce que ça veut dire qu'il y a encore de la place pour augmenter les exportations asiatiques dans le pipeline qui existe déjà, selon vous?
Les dernières données que j'ai vues, c'est que le pipeline était utilisé à peu près à 70-75% de sa capacité. Donc, il reste encore de la place pour de l'exportation potentiellement vers d'autres marchés que les États-Unis. Oui.
Parce qu'on a dit que le Venezuela, tout ce qui se passe au Venezuela, si les États-Unis étaient approvisionnés en pétrole du Venezuela, ça augmentait le besoin d'encore une nouvelle infrastructure pétrolière vers le Pacifique. Est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec cet argument-là?
Deux choses que je dirais. D'abord, avant que le Venezuela puisse augmenter de façon importante sa production. On parle de plusieurs années d'investissement de dizaines de milliards de dollars. Et jusqu'à maintenant, il n'y a pas de compagnie qui a levé la main. Je pense que même que c'est le PDG de Exxon qui a dit que c'était uninvestable. Je ne sais pas trop comment traduire ça en français. Là.
Ininvestible.
Ouais, impossible d'investir. Mais bon, alors, je pense que quand Exxon nous dit que ça n'arrivera pas, donc l'idée qu'on doit rapidement construire un nouveau pipeline parce que tout à coup, les États-Unis vont être approvisionnés par des quantités phénoménales de pétrole vénézuélien, je pense qu'il faut en prendre puis en laisser là-dessus.
Sur Glenn Gore, j'aimerais ça vous entendre sur ce que vous pensez de la décision qui a été annoncée hier.
En fait, il n'y a pas de décision qui a été annoncée hier, là, mais
Une menace de retirer leurs
c'est un dossier qui est difficile parce qu'on a besoin de cuivre pour la transition énergétique, on en a besoin pour les appareils que vous tenez entre les mains, pour nos ordinateurs. En même temps, cette usine-là, elle est très polluante, donc elle a des impacts sur la communauté qui sont non négligeables. Alors, c'est un dossier classique où les besoins de la majorité viennent impacter les besoins d'une minorité de gens. Et c'est jamais facile, moi j'étais ministre de l'Environnement, c'est jamais facile pour un gouvernement de gérer un dossier comme ça, parce que si on perd cette usine-là, on va devenir encore plus dépendant d'importation de cuivre pour nos fabrications, probablement de cuivre qui viendrait de pays d'Asie, peut-être la Chine. Alors c'est un dossier qui est difficile.
A lot of opposition. Alberta has asked for more say in federal appointed judges. I'm just wondering if the government
Listen, you're really outside of my field.
I know, but if Alberta or if the federal government accommodates them at all, do you think that could allow for Quebec, for example, or other provinces to say they want more say as well?
Quebec has been saying for quite some time that they want more say in the nomination of judges.
On the EV mandate, obviously the automotive strategy we're expecting to come out soon. Is there a way, there's been a lot of opposition to the mandate, is there a way of restructuring it you think that would work that would satisfy those people, individuals that are saying we want this gone?
When you're talking about individuals, we are talking about companies and a number of companies that are basically signaling that they will stop or severely reduce the amount of vehicle they produce in Canada. I mean, obviously the context between the moment that the EVAS, that we call it now, the Electric Vehicle Availability Standard, was announced and now is different. Would I be willing to accommodate some changes? Would I agree with that? It depends what those changes are, but I'm certainly open to that possibility. But we need that mandate. It is essential. I mean, it's not just for climate change, but in terms of air pollution, the impacts, the health benefit of doing this are very important.
What do you think of that? Do you think that would be actually helpful? And should the government, should the Prime Minister be leaning on more because of this connection with
look, our Prime Minister's working with all parties, all leaders of parties. I can't speak to what MP Giovanni's doing in Ottawa. We need a Team Canada approach. I'm not sure if he's there on his own or if he's there with the Conservative Party. But I do know our Prime Minister is meeting with, obviously, all the leaders of all parties to do what's best for Canada. So, that's what's important to me. Thank you.
Can I ask you about the new candidates that the Prime Minister appointed and how you feel about appointments instead of nomination?
In a quick turnaround, it's always been the Prime Minister, the leaders, the party's right to do that. I don't know much about her. Looking forward to seeing her up here in Ottawa.
Good morning. Giovanni's in Washington. He says he wants to help with talks with the U.S. What do you make of that? Do you see any issues?
Well, I mean, it should be a Team Canada approach, and so I think so long as he is not going off on his own and is actually helping and being part of Team Canada and talking to the government about it. Now, I don't know if that's the case or not, but we shouldn't be having people just going off and doing things without a coordinated approach. It's too big to kind of put that at risk. But at the same time, I think we need everybody in Canada to be on the same page. It's our sovereignty, it's our economy, and so I think it's welcome that the Conservatives have changed their mind and want to help with protecting Canada now.
He's a friendship with JP Vance. Do you think that the Prime Minister should be using Giovanni's connection to him to try and advance Canada's interests?
As I said, I think we should be talking to every single Canadian as long as their heart is in the right place, and this is about protecting Canada's sovereignty and protecting Canada's economy. We're all Canadians. We should all be doing everything we can to protect Canada. This issue, this relationship is too big not to have everybody on side.
How concerned are you that there was seemingly no dialogue between Giovanni and the Prime Minister's office? Are you concerned about that at all?
Yeah, so that's why I said, people shouldn't be freelancing in this regard. They should be engaged, coordinated, strategic, and so as long as...
It's about both sides to engage
yeah,
with each other.
it is, I think. And so, this is it. Team Canada, we are one country. Put aside your partisan stripes and let's all work together, row in the same direction to protect Canadians and protect their jobs and protect our economy and our sovereignty. So, freelancing, not the right thing to do right now, but if we can all be working together, that's absolutely the right thing to do for Comme j'ai dit en anglais, c'est quelque chose que, comme Canadiens, on devrait tous travailler ensemble. On devrait laisser à côté nos couleurs partisanes, mais c'est sûr que ça doit être coordonné, ça doit être stratégique et on doit travailler ensemble. Alors, je ne sais pas la nature de sa visite, je ne suis pas au courant de ça, mais ce que je dirais, c'est que c'est important que ce n'est pas quelqu'un qui va aller seulement parler pour lui-même. Il doit parler pour Canada, alors ça devrait être un effort coordonné avec tout le monde.
Can I ask you about the candidates? Let me ask you about you make a clear appointing candidates instead of nominating.
Oh, I'll let the Prime Minister answer that question.
We saw the Chief Justice's letter last week. In the past few weeks, especially yesterday.
Well, so I've been in touch with our candidate at University Rosedale, Danielle, and she seems very nice. I haven't met the other candidate.
Can I ask? She's.
Monsieur Miller, est-ce qu'on peut vous entendre sur les postes de lutte contre l'islamophobie et l'antisémitisme, s'il vous plaît? Parce que Mme Gawabi a perdu son poste.
Bien, disons, d'abord, le Premier ministre, moi-même, le cabinet est vraiment préoccupé par l'unité nationale. L'idée d'avoir un nouveau comité aviseur sur les droits, l'équité et l'inclusion en est un qui est bon, selon moi, juste. Les deux représentantes et le travail qu'elles ont fait au sein de leur bureau ont été très importantes, mais je pense que là, on passe à la prochaine étape. C'est justement, je pense que l'idée d'avoir un comité qui se penche sur l'inclusion et l'unité nationale est important à ce stade-ci d'où on est comme pays. Donc,
In English, please, on...
c'est pas une question de qui que ce soit qui était trop controversé ou pas assez prononcé sur un enjeu, mais je pense que les deux représentantes ont joué leur rôle. Là, c'est de passer à la prochaine étape et vraiment d'avoir un comité qui se penche sur l'unité nationale et vraiment de faire des efforts positifs de conciliation au sein des communautés. Pas nécessairement, j'ajouterais, pas nécessairement limité à la communauté musulmane ou juive pour autant.
Can you speak about this in English?
Sure.
On the decision to get rid of the Islamophobia and anti-Semitism envoys. Why are you moving ahead with that?
It's about folding in those two positions into a new committee on national unity and advisory committee on rights, equity, and inclusion. Prime Minister and I, including all the cabinet, and I suspect all MPs, know exactly what's going on and how divided we've become. The Prime Minister is concerned about the next steps. Those two roles, I think, played an important part in identifying these issues that have become, in the case of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, quite polarized, in part because of what we've seen in the war in Gaza. Now it's about taking the next step into a national unity committee that is broad, that does recognize the specificities of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, but is focused on national unity, and I think that's important.
What does that mean for the money that was going to communities through these offices? Like, what does it mean for people on the ground?
Well, it's a good question, and I think that is largely to be determined. This isn't a cost-saving operation. It is about making sure that we have an advisory council that will report to me and the Prime Minister and give us their important views and approaches on what we do as a next step, and that I think is a good thing.
Who are some of the people that are going to be upset that these envoys are, these positions, these offices are closing?
Well, I think we have to give the opportunity to people to be upset. I think the focus here, though, is to make sure that we are focusing on the unity of the country, on the division that we know is there, that's been fueled by a lot of things, and making sure that we have a group of experts that will focus precisely on trying to bring people together.
Have you met with Meta yet about potential anything to do with the news ban?
I haven't personally, no.
No? Has your office reached out to them?
I'm not going to discuss about ongoing discussions with platforms. These are, in order to respect the integrity of the process, it's important to stay confidential. We always have an open door with those platforms to discuss the pressing concerns of making sure that they are doing their job and making sure news gets properly profiled on their platforms. And so that is the state of those discussions.
So that's still a priority for you?
I think it's a priority to make sure Canadians are getting the news that they deserve.
The EV mandate, debate about whether or not the government's going to be scrapping it. The automotive strategy we're hearing is coming out soon. Do you think that EV mandate should be gone or not?
Well, we have to find ways for people to encourage people to drive electric vehicles. I've been driving one now since 2016. I have a hybrid. I will never go back to just a gas-powered car. So I'm not an expert enough to know whether mandate is the way to get people driving electric vehicles. I think, of course, affordability is a big part of it, making sure that they're affordable. We need to make sure that there's enough being manufactured. So I'm keen in ensuring that we keep moving in the direction of ensuring that people feel the incentive and the need to drive an electric vehicle or hybrid version of it than just gas-powered cars. Okay, thank you.
Well, look, I think that's a question that he'll have to answer, but I think engagement with the U.S. at different levels is important, and that's what we're hearing from the premiers, from the municipalities. We all have a role to play, and so as Prime Minister Harper said yesterday, we need to put our political differences aside and work as Team Canada. Thank you.